As it may seem from the outside looking in, all Smurfs play the same champions. Champs such as Khazix, Twitch, Draven, Rengar, Riven, Aurelian Soul, Master Yi, and a few others seem to be the go-to culprits for Smurfs in high elo and solo queue. Before we move on and get all the way to the end of the video, is there a reason for this? Honestly, yeah, there is. But there are a couple of reasons, not just one, and that's exactly what I want to discuss today. Why is it that Smurfs inevitably lean towards several different champions? Why is it that when you see a level 30 without a skin playing Draven, maybe with a barcode name, that you instinctively assume that it's probably a Smurf? However, when you see Corrido Cute Princess :3 XD on Soraka, who's level 34 and who has 100% win rate so far, do you just assume it's a gold player instead? Some of the most common Smurf champions that you'll run into are junglers such as Kha'Zix and Rengar, as well as an occasional Twitch jungle, Riven and Jax top lane, and Draven and Vayne ADC. These are some of the most obvious Smurf champions that are found in the wilderness that is solo queue. I would say that a part of it is the Smurf culture itself, if that's what you want to call it. There are some players who are known for being toxic and smurfing in solo queue, challenger players, and boosters who dump on low elo players. Obviously, Rat IRL is not the only elo booster or the only toxic challenger Smurf, not even close, but he is definitely one of the most infamous who popularized the idea of Twitch jungle and also gold funneling, at least before patch 8.12.
Alright, what is up guys? Professor Irelia here, bringing you a new video on the most ridiculous troll game that has ever taken place in the Korean Pro League, aka the LCK. Two top tier teams, MVP and BBQ, completely blew away the casters in the audience when they picked not only Master Yi Tarik, the common boosting strategy that's in Korea, but also the enemy team picked Karthus Nunu double jungle.
Oh, okay, gold funneling, I hate saying the word funnel so much, but like basically you're just putting all your money into one player, and that player usually is your quote-unquote jungler. It's the person who runs around with smite and farms the jungle camps, but also picks up mid. So instead of a mid laner, you have a support, and instead of a traditional jungler like you'd see Sejuani and Gragas and Lee Sin, you usually have a hard carry like Master Yi or Kai'Sa, and you can even do it with like Lucian. You've seen it with Karthus, and like Master Yi is probably the most prevalent, like the first one.
Ever since the middle of last season, funneling has become a dominant playstyle. In higher elos, and of course for smurfing, and also very solid in competitive play, the idea of picking a hyper carry such as Twitch or Master Yi, and having a support like Lulu or Tarik to give you a bunch of extra gold, that way you can literally 2v8 the game. Firstly, this is effective because it relies the least on your teammates, which by definition is exactly what you're looking for in solo queue. This basically only takes two competent people to win nearly every game if you are good enough or have enough synergy between the two, because the damage threat usually has enough resources to stand in a 1v5 with a Lulu or Janna to buff them to oblivion, making it nearly irrelevant that your bot lane crapped the bed. I've also seen one too many games where after champion select, immediately after loading in, all 5 players on my team tell each other, oh, there's Smurf funnelers on the other team, yet they still die to level 2 Master Yi jungle with their Lulu Ancient Coin in the top lane. This strategy fuels the fire of uncoordinated play in solo queue even when the evidence strategy is right in front of them, even after they watched a Rat IRL smurfing L9 montage the night before and thought about how cool it was, they're still dying for no reason. This, of course, over the years has inspired many copiers and wannabes. On top of that, the rest of the L9 clan crew, or whatever the heck these guys do play other champions such as PSZ being a Challenger Draven main, Apocalypse being a Mordekaiser main, guys like that.
Oh, Scrubnoob's actually just running it down. Yikes, he is not too pleased with Forest Within.
It's not just about being cool though. Some champions are rewarded heavily in a chaotic solo queue environment, and I think there are no better examples of these than Aurelian Soul and Talon. Both of these champions completely ignore the laning phase by shoving mid lane, then roaming to help your team in the side lanes and jungle, fighting over objectives, scuttle crabs, and assisting in both ganks and counter ganks. The fact is, solo queue has such little coordination, even in Challenger sometimes, that if you roam a lot and move around the map, you are bound to pick up some kills. It's almost guaranteed, and it's not always the fault of the enemy team being bad. There are no voice comms, not everybody is paying full attention at all times, and there is autofill. It shouldn't come as a shock that if you camp the autofilled top laner as Talon mid with Moby boots and kill him over and over again, that he starts to really not care anymore and just say, whatever. This is exemplified when somebody is not in a series or at 0 LP. When players feel like there isn't that much to lose, they start to not care. Smurfs are smart by playing around enemy auto-filled players and putting them in uncomfortable situations, often tilting them to the point of an easy win. By default, someone checking op.gg right before a match to see that the enemy player has a disgustingly good win rate will make their lane opponent play more safe and give them a free lane, even when they may not have to. If you've ever played against a Smurf, do you get nervous? Do you start to want to play more safe and make sure just to not die, but then in turn give up all of the pressure and all of the farm in your lane to the Smurf? Well, that's a problem. The chaos, the fear, the autofills, and toxicity and tilt of solo queue makes people play poorly, and even more poorly when someone gets an early game lead. I'm not saying that there are no Smurfs that play scaling champions. I've seen my fair share of rises in my day that are gold too. However, the point is that the earlier you get snowballing, and the earlier that you are 10-0 on the scoreboard, the more likely the enemy team is to be upset, frustrated, and say let's just FF. This is also why jungling as well as playing ADC is great for smurfing. In the bottom lane, you have 2 people that you can kill rather than just 1. And bot lane really isn't an island the way that top lane is most of the time. In bot lane, you can start the game by getting a double kill early on, then when the enemy jungler comes, you can get a triple kill on all of them, only for them to say GG shortly after. When you're in the jungle, you can run between every single lane and pick up kill after kill, and even when your lanes are doing poorly, if you path correctly and farm better than the enemy jungler, you still have a great chance of picking up kills and being so far ahead yourself that you can usually carry the game. It's also quite helpful that the jungle position has Smite and the access to taking Baron. If you're good enough and you're up in levels on the enemy jungler who's silver, you can usually secure the objective for yourself. This is typically the reason that stealth champions and stealth junglers are great for solo queue, and there's a reason that champions such as Evelynn, Khazix, Rengar, Shaco, and Twitch do so well for smurfing. There's so little vision in solo queue, even more so in the lower MMRs, that you can punish people over and over and over again. Needless to say, these factors have allowed certain players to rack up insanely high win rates and win streaks, allowing them to bypass low elo, often with literally 0 losses. One thing that's worth considering is that there's not exactly a formula for climbing and smurfing through the ranks, but here are some key notes that I've picked up over the years. Number 1 is that early game champions and playstyles are almost always the best choice. While again there are Smurf Kales, Smurf Rises, and Smurf Azirs, most of the time you do want to be playing things like Draven and Kha'Zix and Twitch Jungle, who can get you so far ahead in the early game that it doesn't even matter what happens because you've won the game by 5 minutes. Number 2, you have to rely on no one. You have to learn to win the game by yourself. In solo queue, you have to be the carry. You cannot rely on anybody else, and you are the constant factor in every single ranked game. I'm not saying that there are not games that are unwinnable, of course there will be some, but every time I've seen Smurfs who are genuine high elo Smurfs, typically they hold above 90% win rates because they do well and carry every single game.
Like, if you guys know who Demir is, he's like a Kha'Zix one trick NA, he's like challenger. When he plays low elo, he 1v9s every game. No matter what, he can have 4 people AFK, he'll still win. Because he's an amazing low elo player. I don't know how. I don't know how to play in low elo. It's like an actual thing, I'm not trolling. It sounds troll, but it's not. Because I play as if I still have my challenger teammates, and I rely on them too much. When Demir plays, he doesn't rely on no one but himself. He doesn't care. He'll have his whole team die for 1 kill, and he'll 1v9 off that 1 kill.
Duos will help, and having a duo queue definitely is helpful, but it's not 100% required. Sometimes you will see these people duo boost or duo queue, but you won't always see them do that, and they can still climb through the ranks solo only. So if you don't have a friend, don't be too worried. Number 4 is play around a specific win condition. While you need to understand that yes, number 2 is important and you can't rely on anybody, if you do have someone like a Veigar who is strong, learn to play around him and do what you can to at least help someone else be useful as well. Number 5 is one trick. Being able to play one champion very well is enough to climb, and being a one trick is exactly how a lot of these people get to Challenger. It would be great to have the most expansive champion pool in history and be Caps or Rookie or Faker, but it's not realistic. A lot of us are never going to be them in our entire lives. They are 1 in a billion players. If you want to improve, get better, and climb the ranks, being able to play one champion exceptionally well is enough to carry. By this point, you're probably thinking that, Kellen, you're saying because I play Scion, I cannot carry. I will literally never have insane win rates or be a god at the game, and I'll never escape low elo because I don't play Khazix. The thing is that this is not entirely true. What I'm trying to tell you is that this is not the case. In fact, I just checked YouTube the other day and saw that LeagueRecap uploaded a video about a guy who is EU West Challenger and he plays AD Scion. This guy is insanely good at Scion, and he has some really good techniques and strategies to win games. If he was smurfing in gold, he would also probably win every single game. Truthfully speaking, you should be able to hold above a 70% win rate or more if you are drastically better than your opponents. A Diamond 3 player in Bronze will still win every single game, no matter what, just because the skill discrepancy is too high. When a Smurf Draven plays Silver, he can still go 23-1 in Silver. That's just the nature of skill difference. The reason that champion choice matters is that the higher and higher elo you go, the less mistakes people will make. A bronze or silver player will make so many mistakes compared to a diamond plus player that even their off role and off champion is probably still miles above their main. This is just because they have more knowledge of the game overall. But when a master tier player is playing in mid diamond, it will be vital that they play their main and are a one trick because they must be as proficient as they possibly can in order to win those higher elo games. Lastly, something that low elo players often underestimate when looking at these types of accounts is how often these players are dodging. In order to win 20 in a row, sometimes these Smurfs will dodge upwards of 5 or 6 times. They will refuse to play with someone who is clearly trolling on their op.gg, playing their off-roll 12% win rate Ezreal. In order to climb, it's just as important to gain LP as it is to have good MMR. Because high elo players understand that getting 30 LP per win, but dodging a few times is way better than getting 18 per win and wasting time with people who are going to make you lose. You don't need to feel bad if you don't play any of the champions mentioned in this video. If you're good enough, truly you can climb with anything. Aside from a very select few champions, in Season 9 there is a master tier or higher one trick on mostly every single champion. All champions do have the potential to climb, but there are preferences for a reason. I'm not saying that you have to play Khazix, but what I am saying is understand that if you're good enough and you're actively trying to learn, everyone can learn to climb and get better this season. Anyway, thanks for watching.